Watching it later, you go, oh, well, that seems like inappropriate now. It's not something you would say now. You just don't.
When Jay Leno sat across from Hollywood legends, audiences saw charm, glamour, and nostalgia. But what they did not see were the shadows behind those smiles, the secrets, scandals, and sins that shaped the golden age of Hollywood. Some of these stars built their fame on innocence and sophistication, while living double lives that were anything but. Leno once joked that old Hollywood guests carried more mystery than modern ones, and he was right. Behind the laughter, the glitz, and the perfectly rehearsed interviews were stories darker than anyone watching from home could imagine. Today, we are peeling back that perfect image to expose 9 guests from the so-called Golden Age, who weren't just complicated, they were downright dangerous. From a beloved comedian accused of a shocking crime to a heroic movie idol who hid terrifying truths. These are the legends whose fame outshined their morality. But the story starts with one man whose downfall shattered the illusion of Hollywood's innocence, a scandal so explosive that it nearly destroyed the entire silent film industry. Frances Farmer was a starlet with talent and intensity that could not be ignored. From her breakthrough performances to her striking presence on stage and screen, she seemed destined for greatness. But behind the bright lights, Farmer's life became a cautionary tale of how Hollywood could destroy the very people it elevated. Her rebellious nature clashed with studio executives and societal expectations. She spoke out against hypocrisy, challenged roles she deemed demeaning, and resisted the strict control studios tried to impose. Unfortunately, in an era when women who defied authority were harshly punished, her defiance came at a steep price. Farmer faced repeated arrests, public shaming, and eventually institutionalization under questionable circumstances. Reports of forced medical procedures, including shock therapy, highlighted the dark intersections of fame, control, and mental health exploitation in Hollywood. Despite these hardships, Farmer's talent remained undeniable. Her performances retained a raw intensity that captivated audiences, yet her legacy became inextricably linked with tragedy. Her story revealed the cruel side of Hollywood's golden age, one that could elevate a star to incredible heights, while simultaneously punishing them for refusing to conform. Frances Farmer's life reminds us that fame is often a fragile facade. In the pursuit of stardom, even the most gifted can be broken by a system designed to protect appearances rather than people. Her story, along with those of Arbuckle, Flynn, Mitchum, and the others, paints a stark picture. Behind the glamour and laughter of Jay Leno's guests lay shadows that were dark, dangerous, and unforgettable. Hollywood's golden age was a world of glittering stars, glamorous premieres, and unforgettable performances. But as we've seen through the lives of Roscoe Arbuckle, Errol Flynn, Robert Mitchum, Lila Leeds, John Drew Barrymore, Mae West, Lenny Riefenstahl, Gloria Graham, and Frances Farmer, fame often hid shadows far darker than the public ever imagined. Behind the charm, talent, and laughter were scandals, crimes, and personal demons that shaped, and sometimes destroyed, their lives. Jay Leno's couch may have welcomed these legends with smiles and applause, but the reality behind the cameras was far more complicated. Some wielded charisma as a shield, others fell victim to cruelty and hypocrisy, and a few used scandal to amplify their power. Each story serves as a reminder that the golden age of Hollywood was not just a time of light and glamour, but also a period where the line between brilliance and darkness was razor thin. So next time you see a star on a talk show, remember, fame can illuminate, entertain, and inspire. But it can also conceal secrets that are shocking, unsettling, and unforgettable. The golden age may shine in memory, but the truths behind it are far more haunting than anyone ever realized. Before there was Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton, there was Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle, the man who made millions laugh without ever saying a word. He was one of the first true Hollywood superstars, earning millions of dollars and working alongside legends like Chaplin. But in 1921, the world saw his smile turn into a scandal so horrific that it nearly ended the silent film era itself. That September, Arbuckle threw a wild party at San Francisco's St. Francis Hotel. Alcohol was flowing freely, despite prohibition laws. Among the guests was a young actress named Virginia Rapp. By the end of that night, she was found gravely ill, and within days, she was dead. The rumor mill exploded. Newspapers screamed headlines accusing Arbuckle of unspeakable acts that led to her death. The details were shocking, twisted, and in many cases, exaggerated by journalists eager to sell papers. Still, the accusations stuck. Arbuckle was charged with manslaughter, and his name became a symbol of Hollywood's moral decay. The trial turned into a media circus, with reporters calling him everything from monster to the devil of Hollywood. Even though Arbuckle was eventually acquitted after 3 trials, his career was over. Movie theaters refused to show his films. The public wanted a villain, and they found one in him. Hollywood responded with panic. Studios created the Motion Picture Production Code, the first attempt to clean up the industry's image. Arbuckle went from adored entertainer to exiled outcast, spending his final years directing under fake names. When he died in 1933, he was only 46, a broken man who had once been the face of laughter. His downfall didn't just destroy one career, it set the tone for decades of Hollywood cover-ups, morality clauses, and the illusion that every smiling face on screen was pure. But Arbuckle's story was only the beginning, because the next man on Jay Leno's list wasn't destroyed by false rumors. His dark side was very real. Errol Flynn was the ultimate Hollywood hero. Tall, charming, and impossibly confident. On screen, he was the man every guy wanted to be and every woman wanted to be with. From Captain Blood to the adventures of Robin Hood, Flynn's grin, sword, and swagger defined the golden age of adventure films. But off-screen, that same charisma hid something far darker. By the early 1940s, Flynn's wild lifestyle had become the stuff of legend. He threw decadent parties filled with alcohol, women, and trouble. The kind of behavior that Hollywood gossip columnists whispered about but never dared print in full. But in 1942, that all changed. 2 underage girls came forward, accusing Flynn of taking advantage of them during drunken encounters, one on his yacht, the other in a Beverly Hills mansion. The charges were explosive, and the headlines were merciless. For the first time, the public saw their swashbuckling hero dragged into court, facing serious accusations that threatened to destroy his career. But Flynn wasn't the kind of man to shrink from scandal. He leaned into it. His defense team painted him as a victim of gold diggers and overzealous prosecutors. Fans flooded the courthouse, cheering for him as though he were still playing the hero. The trial became one of the most sensational in Hollywood history. And when Flynn was acquitted, his fans celebrated. But something had changed. His reputation was permanently stained, and his off-screen persona as a reckless seducer only grew. He later joked about the ordeal, even adopting the phrase "in like Flynn," turning a scandal into a punchline. Behind the scenes, though, his life was crumbling. Alcohol, addiction, and endless controversy followed him until his death at just 50 years old. His charm never faded, but neither did the unease that surrounded his name. Flynn's case exposed the darker truth behind Hollywood's heroes, that sometimes the most adored stars were also the most dangerous. And the next man on Jay Leno's list proved that rebellion in Hollywood wasn't always glamorous. Sometimes it was just criminal. Robert Mitchum had the kind of effortless cool that Hollywood could not manufacture. With his sleepy eyes, deep voice, and devil-may-care attitude, he was the poster child for rebellion long before James Dean ever came along. But Mitchum's rebellion wasn't just a screen persona. It was real, messy, and dangerous. In 1948, when his career was soaring, Mitchum's world came crashing down. Late one summer night, police raided a private home in Laurel Canyon and found the movie star smoking marijuana. Back then, that was not a minor offense. It was a career-ending scandal. The news spread like wildfire. Hollywood idol caught in drug den. Mitchum was arrested, photographed, and thrown into jail alongside a young actress named Lila Leeds. The pictures of him behind bars shocked fans. Hollywood had never seen one of its leading men fall from grace so spectacularly. Yet, What made the story even more fascinating was Mitchum's reaction. He did not apologize. In interviews, he laughed it off, saying, "It was just the same as being in a movie, except I did not get to go home at night." That line cemented his image as Hollywood's ultimate bad boy. Mitchum served about 50 days in jail, doing hard labor and wearing prison stripes. But when he got out, his fame only grew. He became the embodiment of the anti-hero, cynical, fearless, and untamed. The public loved him even more for not pretending to be perfect. Behind the camera, though, he was spiraling deeper into alcohol, fights, and chaos, living the kind of life that blurred the line between myth and self-destruction. Years later, Jay Leno joked about how some of his Golden Age guests were tougher than any modern celebrity, and Mitchum fit that description perfectly. He was charming but unpredictable, intelligent but reckless, the kind of man who could terrify a studio executive one minute and deliver an Oscar-worthy performance the next. Robert Mitchum proved that Hollywood didn't just glamorize rebellion, it depended on it. But his story also led directly into the downfall of the woman who shared that same scandal, and whose life ended very different. Lila Leeds was a young, rising starlet in Hollywood, beautiful, ambitious, and ready to take the silver screen by storm. But in 1948, her life collided with infamy when she appeared alongside Robert Mitchum in the marijuana scandal that shocked the entire industry. At the time, drug arrests were more than legal troubles. They were career death sentences, and Leeds quickly learned how unforgiving Hollywood could be. Her arrest made front-page news. Photographs of her in handcuffs, alongside Mitchum, were circulated nationwide. The public didn't just see her as a person in trouble. She became the face of immorality, a cautionary tale of what happens when ambition and recklessness collide. Unlike Mitchum, whose career survived due to charm and notoriety, Leeds had no such safety net. Film studios refused to hire her, friends distanced themselves, and the doors to her dream world slammed shut. Hollywood's moral standards at the time were rigid, and Leeds was caught in their crossfire. The scandal overshadowed her talent entirely. Any potential she had on screen was eclipsed by her tabloid image. Even years later, when she tried to rebuild her life, the stigma followed her relentlessly, proving that in the Golden Age, one misstep could define a career permanently. Lila Leeds' story is a stark reminder that fame in Hollywood's Golden Age was a fragile, double-edged sword, and that being caught in the wrong moment could erase everything. Her experience also highlighted the darker reality of the era. The rules were harshest for women, and the consequences for scandal far more severe than for men. As shocking as Leeds' downfall was, the next guest on our list showed that even a famous family name could not shield someone from a lifetime of chaos. John Drew Barrymore was born into Hollywood royalty. As the son of famed actor John Barrymore, he carried a name that opened doors, promising a life of fame and opportunity. But unlike the iconic figures in his family, John Drew's life was marked less by success and more by scandal, addiction, and chaos. From an early age, Barrymore struggled with substance abuse, frequently clashing with studio executives and law enforcement. His arrests for drug possession, public drunkenness, and assault were well documented, painting a stark contrast to the glamour his surname implied. Despite attempts to pursue a career in acting, his reputation for unreliability and erratic behavior followed him everywhere. Jobs were lost, projects were canceled, and even his own family grew wary of his unpredictable actions. His troubled life wasn't just a personal struggle. It had ripple effects on the next generation. His daughter, Drew Barrymore, grew up surrounded by instability, witnessing firsthand the darker sides of Hollywood fame. John Drew's story became a cautionary tale of inherited privilege, showing that even the most illustrious family name could not shield someone from the consequences of self-destructive behavior. Barrymore's life exemplified the dangers lurking behind the Golden Age's silver screen. Talent could only carry you so far, and personal demons often defined a career more than skill ever could. Yet, even in the face of public disgrace, Barrymore maintained a twisted kind of charm, a charisma that allowed him brief flashes of success, but never true redemption. The next guest on Jay Leno's list took Scandal to a different level, combining controversy, legality, and fame in a way that redefined what it meant to be dangerous in Hollywood. Mae West was Hollywood's original provocateur. With her sultry voice, sharp wit, and unapologetic sexuality, she became a star who challenged social norms at every turn. But West's boldness didn't just shock audiences, it scandalized an entire nation. In 1927, West was convicted of corrupting the morals of the youth due to the suggestive content in her stage play, Sex. She served 10 days in jail, an experience she famously turned into material for her career, embracing the notoriety rather than hiding from it. Hollywood quickly realized that controversy could be just as profitable as talent, and West used her infamy to shape a persona that was daring, fearless, and impossible to ignore. Her films were filled with innuendo and double entendres that skirted the line of acceptability. Every joke, every wink, was calculated to provoke and entertain. Yet behind the glitz and glamour, West had mastered the art of survival in a male-dominated industry. Scandal became her shield, publicity her sword. She exposed hypocrisy, mocked censorship, and forced audiences and critics alike to confront their own discomfort with female power and sexuality. Mae West's story shows that being evil in Hollywood didn't always mean committing crimes. Sometimes it meant defying authority, flaunting norms, and daring to be unapologetically yourself. Her career proved that scandal could be a tool, not a punishment, and that the golden age of Hollywood had room for rebels who could bend the rules and reshape the industry in their own audacious image. Next, we move from audacious rebels to a filmmaker whose work blurred the line between genius and complicity in one of history's darkest regimes. Leni Riefenstahl was a visionary in cinema, a director whose technical mastery and visual storytelling changed the face of filmmaking. Her movies were breathtaking, innovative, and influential, yet behind the artistry lay a chilling moral compromise. Riefenstahl became infamous for creating propaganda films for the Nazi regime, most notably Triumph of the Will, a documentary glorifying Adolf Hitler, and the 1934 Nuremberg Rally. Her work blurred the line between art and ideology. While critics marveled at her ability to choreograph crowds, manipulate lighting, and frame shots with cinematic brilliance, the content of her films served a regime responsible for unspeakable atrocities. Riefenstahl's legacy is complex. She claimed her work was purely aesthetic, yet her films undeniably reinforced and celebrated the power of a totalitarian state. After the war, she faced arrest and interrogation, but was never convicted of war crimes. Still, her reputation was forever tarnished. Many viewed her as complicit, a reminder that talent alone could not absolve someone of the consequences of aligning with evil. Hollywood, though far removed from European politics, had its own fascination with her story. Even decades later, her techniques influenced directors worldwide, but the shadow of her moral choices never lifted. Riefenstahl's story serves as a sobering example of how brilliance can be weaponized. In the world of fame and power, skill can illuminate, entertain, and inspire, but it can also hide moral compromise, leaving audiences to grapple with the uncomfortable truth behind genius. Next on Jay Leno's list is a star whose personal life was scandalous, in ways far less political but equally destructive. Gloria Graham was Hollywood's quintessential femme fatale, radiant, alluring, and magnetic on screen. She captivated audiences with her performances in films like The Big Heat and In a Lonely Place, becoming one of the most memorable actresses of the Golden Age. But behind the glamour and on-screen seduction lay a personal life riddled with scandal and controversy that shocked Hollywood insiders. Graham's most notorious scandal involved her relationship with director Nicholas Ray, which reportedly extended into an inappropriate affair with his teenage stepson. Rumors of promiscuity and moral impropriety swirled in Hollywood circles, and tabloids eagerly fed public fascination with her personal life. Unlike some stars whose careers survived scandal, Graham's reputation suffered immensely. Opportunities dwindled, and the once bright trajectory of her career became clouded by gossip and judgment. Her story highlighted the harsh double standards of the era. Women in Hollywood were scrutinized far more intensely than men, and any deviation from moral expectations could irreversibly damage a career. Graham's talent was undeniable, yet her personal choices became the focal point of her legacy in the public eye. Even her celebrated performances could not fully eclipse the notoriety that followed her. Gloria Graham's life serves as a reminder that in Hollywood's golden age, fame and scandal were inseparable. One misstep, one rumor, or one relationship could overshadow years of artistry, proving that the darker side of stardom was often as compelling, and sometimes more enduring, than the light. Next, we conclude with a cautionary tale of mental health and exploitation. A star whose brilliance was tragically undermined by the system meant to support her.